the same priority. We understand that there is a problem, and the proposals that are coming out of the Joint Legislative Committee have us somewhat concerned as to the focus and the priorities that they're taking. This is my 8th year in the House, and for each of those 8 years, the priorities have been water, education, tax reform, and this year, again, jobs. So we need to be focusing on the economy. We're at a critical time in our state's history. Unemployment is at an all-time high, and our budget will show that this year we'll have another $2 billion deficit. We've already underinvested in education, in transportation, and in other infrastructure requirements. And those things are important if we're going to continue to try to attract new jobs. And if we don't continue to focus on those things, we're going to lose the opportunity to compete with our neighbors for job creation and our ability to hire more people. We call on our colleagues to help us and join us in inviting more hearings on this issue in a very comprehensive way. We know that these hearings that we hope that will take place will encourage people from expertise in Georgia's economy, on immigration, in the agricultural industry, and we want our state to be more involved in a diverse way of increasing jobs. Immigrants are not just a part of our workforce, but they're a major player in our state's economy. They account for billions of dollars in revenue. Latinos and Asians wield about $24.2 billion in purchasing power, and the businesses they own had sales revenues of $12.2 billion and employ over 75,000 people, according to a report from the Sealy Center for Economic Growth at the University of Georgia. And again, at a time of where we're in an economic recession, Georgia can ill afford to alienate not only the employees, but the employers of a critical component of our economy. One report showed that if all unauthorized immigrants were removed from Georgia, the state would lose $23.1 billion in economic activity, $9.5 billion in gross state product, and approximately 132,000 jobs. There's been wide speculation about the cost of undocumented immigrants on the state, and the real problem is we don't have enough information to make good decisions. So we're calling our colleagues to join us in getting more data and providing good, thoughtful solutions to this problem. We don't need solutions that are going to be job killers. We understand that there's a problem, and we know that the Congress has failed to act, and we need to do something to address it. But we need to do it based on facts, not just on emotion.
Thank you, Representative Fludd, and we'll both be happy to have a dialogue and a conversation with the members of the press that are here when we complete our remarks. Georgia legislators are poised again for the 6th year in a row to craft contentious legislation designed to discourage immigrants from coming to Georgia, staying in Georgia, and working in Georgia. On the other hand, Georgia's economy demands legislative leadership. Georgia's economy, the needs of our economy, the need to grow jobs and build back our economy, needs legislative leadership. We need policies that grow our economy, that create jobs, and that move us back on the road to a prosperous Georgia. Ill-conceived anti-immigrant legislation won't do that. Georgia's immigrant workforce plays a significant role in our economy, in agriculture, in the hospitality industry, in construction, in the service industry. Our economy relies on these industries to drive the wheels and keep us on the road. Our manufacturing has been under assault. Manufacturing is on the wane. We have immigrant workforce in our manufacturing sector as well. We have a fragile economy that does not need body blows from ill-considered legislation. I have been a part of this legislature for 25 years, representing Atlantans. I try to work for the best interests of our state as a whole. My daddy's roots are down in South Georgia, way below the gnat line. He grew up cropping. He grew up in an agricultural family. I have members of my family all across South Georgia still involved in agriculture. And I serve on the Senate Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs. Our committee includes senators who farm year-round, senators who are embedded in the agricultural economy of our state. And we hear year-round from agribusiness, from small farmers, from the new and emerging organic sector of our agricultural industry. And we know from them that we depend on Georgia's immigrant workforce to get the job done alongside native Georgians out in the fields. We need a workforce to sow, to grow, and to harvest Georgia's incredible bounty of agricultural products. Who's going to bring in the Vidalia onions if we pass legislation that runs people out of the state? Our peaches, our pecans, our apple crop. We have, as a state, 10 of our agricultural products lead in the nation in productivity. Folks, we up in Atlanta may forget sometimes that agriculture is an economic driver in our state. It absolutely is. It's a $65 billion industry for the state of Georgia. Do we want that to go downhill? Because I'll tell you, when you pass anti-immigrant legislation that's designed really to inflame and incense people rather than solve problems, what you do is you run people out of the state. You run people out of the state that are undocumented, and you run people out of the state that have been living here, buying homes, raising families, who are legal and are a part of our economy. So that's why we stand here today to say loud and clear that this standing committee, which will meet in a half an hour, has failed to look at the economic consequences of their measures. I will quote to you the policy that's been adopted by the Farm Bureau of Georgia. They adopted a policy, clarified their position. They've had a position for a long while on the question of Georgia's immigrant workforce. Their policy reads that they oppose any immigration law in Georgia that discriminates against the farm worker and puts the farmers of Georgia at a disadvantage to farmers in other states. Immigration is a federal issue, not a state or local issue, says our Farm Bureau. Agricultural interests must be considered when immigration legislation is debated. So we anticipate working with colleagues to hold hearings across the state, to go down into Georgia's rich farmland in South Georgia, to go up to North Georgia, bring out the citizenry, and just as important, bring out the experts on our economy. Bring the facts and figures. Let's make law based on the real world, not based on political rhetoric and hot-headedness. That's why we are here today calling, in the words of our state motto, for wisdom, justice, and moderation. We need to take a very careful approach in this economic climate here in Georgia so that we are doing job building, job creation, feeding the engine of our economy and moving Georgia forward to a prosperous path. Heed our words. We will be around this state with colleagues calling on experts from the academy, from the industrial sectors of our state, as well as people who are in the workforce, people who hire and manage our Georgia immigrant workforce, to get the real facts out on the table so that the Georgia General Assembly can make policy based on the real world. And we call, as has the Farm Bureau, on Congress to fix this broken immigration system. Fix this broken immigration system at the federal level and stop pushing the states into postures where we have to do patchwork laws that are ill-considered and are not within the purview of state government. Thank you.
Senator Representative, is there any specific proposal that the committee is considering particularly concerned about? And then secondly, what do you make of the fact that you're both Democratic lawmakers and everyone in the community are Republicans?
Well, I'll tell you what, the folks that are out here across this state in industry are Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and don't call us label. Don't label us. That's who they are. That's who is out here across the business and the economy of this state. So this is not about party. We call on people of goodwill, and particularly the experts in our economy, to come forward and bring information. It's not a matter of Democrat, Republican.
And specifically about policies, I don't know that they've introduced any particular legislation, but we've been talking about one of the things that concerns me most is withholding services, whether it's healthcare or education. We cannot afford to have people in this state who are not educated, regardless of their legal status. We have to make sure that everybody has a chance to have a fair and reasonable opportunity for work in this country, in this state, in this country. Thank you.
You know what? I think it's raining.
Yes.
So the crops are growing in South Georgia, and we're going to get in after that.
I think it's time to go inside.